People who rent out their houses for Airbnb. What is the rudest, most messed up thing a guest has done in your home? Had a guest from Nick stay in our VRBO app for a week. She was a bit snooty and bragged that she was coming to sell high-end seafood to high-end restaurants. She asked me to make sure and accept a large package of frozen seafood that was being overnighted to the house prior to her arrival. I didn't put it in her apartment. She arrived and we didn't see her until the day she left. She told all went well and she got several new clients. Then she presented us with a huge fillet of tuna as a gift. Once she left, we went into the unit to start cleaning and prepping for new guests arriving a few days later. The place was filthy. She threw her trash on the floor rather than in the trash cans. All of the washcloths were missing from the linen closet, but none were in the laundry pile. I found 3 bloody washcloths under a paper towel in the bathroom trash. It was the only thing in it. There was this bad smell and we couldn't figure out where it was coming from. After a thorough search, we found it. She had been broiling seafood in the oven. That new oven was disgusting. The inside was caked in grease, fish scales and God knows what else. It took me one entire afternoon to get it clean. My friend has an Airbnb and told me one time this lady took a massive toilet clogging in the bathroom connected to his room because she didn't feel comfortable in the guest bathroom. Not me, but my sister. She was visiting her boyfriend who lived in France at the time and figured it was a good idea to put her apartment on Airbnb. There were 2 guys that ended up renting it for 9 days of the 3-ish weeks she would be gone. Later she got complaints from neighbors about garbage being thrown out the window. She lives on the 5th floor. She tried getting them to stop. When that didn't work, she tried getting them to leave. Didn't work either. OFC. She ended up calling our parents to get them to help with calling the police as she was still in another country. When the officer showed up, they spit in his face and tried punching him. He got reinforcements and got them removed. IDK what happened to them afterwards sadly. As a side note, Airbnb was surprisingly helpful and even handled all the legal things with the guys still paying for the full 9-day stay without more than a quick call to describe what was happening. Steal the cable for the TV. The next guests asked about the TV not working, and upon inspection we found that the physical cable from the TV to the cable was missing, taken by the previous guests. WTF? I've actually done this before by accident, as I travel with my own console etc. Often I'll bring my cables, but if there's one in the TV I'll use that. Recently I took the person's cable home with me without realizing. Hey guys, we found him. Found a webcam in the bathroom. Not well hidden. Can't really prove which guest it was, but it scared the out of me because I'd probably be liable if a guest found it. A friend of a relative rents out his beach house during the autumn-winter season when it's slow and barely any tourists. Just some people like to have some alone time at the beach. This is in Ocean City, Bethany Beach, Maryland, Delaware line. One time he rented out his beach house to a young couple who recently got married and wanted to extend their honeymoon in November. I think it was 2015/16. The friend said this was a nice couple, very friendly. The friend then went back to Baltimore for work. It was one night that he got a call from the OC police department saying that there had been an incident at the beach house. He rushed down there as quickly as possible, but it roughly takes 2 hours without traffic. Once he arrived, his house is a mess and the couple had been taken to a hospital. A neighbor, a local, called police when the couple got into some kind of physical altercation and began to trash the house. Plates were shattered. Every decor item was ruined. One of the bathroom sinks was badly cracked, and some of the walls had been attacked by a knife or some sharp object. The couple was tested positive for LSD and coke. Their respective families said they were off the dogs before they got married. The families paid for all damages. The couple was separated and sent to different rehab facilities from what I heard. The friend then decided to make a rule that hardcore dogs weren't allowed in his house. Took him a long time to repair the damage. We rent apartments in our house. We live upstairs. It's a pretty big house, so there isn't any privacy issue. One night, my mom and I fell asleep watching the TV, nothing unusual. At 6 AM I am woken up by a dude, guest, CCA20yo, just standing in the middle of the living room. Completely freaked out, I just say mom. She turns also completely shook. Dude is still just standing. Finally he tells us their taxi never showed up and they are late to the bus station. Mom tells him to go back to the app and she'll drive them in 5 minutes. so it was quite innocent. But shman, how do you even think of coming into someone's house like that? From then on, we made sure to double check every night if all the doors are locked. First time was my last time, but rented to a young lady and her 5-year-old son. Was supposed to be an overnight, then she would return in a week for a second night. We met the lady and her son, showed her around. She told us she would likely be gone by noon at the latest. Wife and I showed up at house around 1:30 to clean up. Her car was still in the driveway. We knocked on the door. The little boy answers, tells us his mommy won't wake up. We found her lying on the floor next to the bed. Apparently she had a heart attack in the night and tried to get to her cell phone. The cops contacted her family. They came and got the little boy. Lots of tears and emotion. Wife and I decided that we didn't want that ever again, so we took it off the site. When I used to work for Airbnb, my job was to meet hosts and talk to them in person about their experience. One guy told me how some dude locked himself in the room he was renting and wouldn't come out for days. The host eventually called the cops to have the guy removed because he overstayed his visit and wasn't opening the door. When he finally was removed, the host found feathers everywhere. He couldn't figure out where they were coming from until he opened the closet door and saw blood and more feathers smeared all over the wall. Dude had been practicing voodoo or Santeria or something in the closet, sacrificing chickens. Relative of mine has an Airbnb tenant decided they didn't like the place for some reason and took a can of emergency bear mace and sprayed all over the Airbnb before leaving. Relative had to clean the place, eyes stinging the whole time, before a new Airbnb tenant was to show up the next day. I hope he called the police. I had family that put up their second place as Airbnb. They were pretty remote, so they catered mainly to families and groups. They recently stopped doing bachelor and bachelorettes as they've noticed they get too wild and they always leave the place a mess for checkout. One time a woman brought their tiny dog to a bachelorette party, which is fine, they're dog friendly, but the owner had passed out early and no one let the dog out, so it just pissed and shit all over the hardwood and no one cleaned it up before leaving. They got charged extra. But the thing is with Airbnb, this isn't a hotel where staff don't care personally, and one mess out of 100 rooms isn't necessarily a significant deal. This is someone's house. Not me personally, but there was an article in the newspaper of my hometown about an Airbnb that was turned into a brothel for about 2 weeks. When the owner returned home, he still had men show up at his door looking for the girls. Only rented a few times. Nothing rude. But I had a no-show once. They never cancelled and I kept their money. I would have refunded had they messaged me with even the slightest excuse. But nope, just never heard from them at all. It was weird. That may have been me. Son was getting married out of town. Just days before he called it off. I didn't cancel because knowing my son, he would call it back on the day before. I figured that was just cost I had to pay for having my son. I've had people on my Snap who used to rent BNBs, and all they would do is get drunk, smoke weed, and destroy the place. For some reason the guy posted a message from one of the owners saying how horrible of a guest he was and that everything was ruined, and all he did was laugh at it. My sister rents out a unit that's attached to 2 other units. She told me about a guy who was a first-time renter on the app. He seemed nice enough, but she got complaints from the neighbors about partying and loud music late at night. She spoke to him the next day. He was super chill about it, but when he left, she found a mess. Beer cans and food everywhere, and on top of that he spilled beer all over the mattress, so she had to get a new one. She charged him for it and wasn't sure if he was gonna pay up, but he did. Wasn't super bad, but it was incredibly stressful for her. Not Airbnb but a competitor. A handful college students rented my parents' vacation house for spring break. My parents made sure they knew it was in an uppity residential neighborhood, and while spring break parties wouldn't fly, they rented it anyway. Said 6 people were going. Somehow like 50 people showed up. The police got called due to the noise. Cleaning guy reported a missing widescreen TV, a front and backyard full of beer cans and red Solo cups and other kinds of trash, a broken bed, and all 3 toilets were overflowing. I got the opposite. Me and my wife stayed at a B&B for part of our honeymoon. Same state, but a few hours drive away from home. The owners had some friends over and proceeded to drink beer, play guitar, and sing obnoxiously loud until 3:30 in the morning in the living room directly below our room. We had booked 3 nights there originally. This was the first night. We immediately packed up and went home in the morning and left a scathing review on every website we could find them on. Edit. For those wondering, here is who it played out afterwards. We honestly didn't even bother trying to get our money back. They had a no refunds policy of some sort stated, and we knew we probably could have easily fought it, but we were just so pissed off and disappointed that part of our honeymoon had been ruined that we just left. Worst part, the rest of our honeymoon fell apart after that. The plan was 3 haunted B&B locations in 3 different parts of the state, 3 nights each. The first one was the one from my post. The second one was okay. A lot of cool history stuff, but that one we left a day early because we did everything interesting on the first day. We didn't sleep the first night because we heard a couple banging in the next room over. Super loud lady moaning the whole time. And the second night I couldn't sleep because I was just got too uncomfortable in that environment. The third place we cancelled before we even went there because I was just done with the whole thing. We ended up staying home and relaxing for the rest of our vacation time and then going to a haunted corn maze one night at the end. We should have just done that from the start and not wasted money on 3 effing B&Bs. Also, bit personal but, despite being our honeymoon, we ended up never having sex the whole time because our moods were constantly ruined by external factors. And that is why I will never stay anywhere other than a hotel when on vacation for the rest of my life. Not a host but, story time. I live in CO and in the spring and fall we usually have all the windows in the house open. A few years ago we had a contractor come by the house to give us a quote on some repairs. Shortly after he left I went upstairs to our bedroom, which faces the street, to get something. While in our closet I could hear talking from outside very clearly, so I went over to the window to be nosy. I couldn't see anyone outside except for the contractor, in his car, windows up, and the talking was gone. Then I could hear the voice again. Yeah, she said the pee soaked all the way through the mattress. That got my attention. The voice was coming from the car. Dude was using his car as a speakerphone. I could easily hear every word the caller was saying. I don't remember the exact words anymore, but there was poo and pee in a lot of place where it didn't belong. Bedding got destroyed. At no point did I hear anything about how this happened, just that it was found and she was on her way to have a look. I remember thinking it sounded like something a toddler do with a free time, a fresh diaper on a scale that really shouldn't be possible. I had moved down by the front door and as soon as he hung up I walked out to his car. He was professional as ever when he rolled down the window. I said something to the effect of "This is kind awkward, but I'd want to know this if it happened to me." When you use your car speakerphone, people outside the car can hear everything the other person says, from inside a house. There was a long moment of silence and a variety of different emotions competing to be on his face. So I have some rental property up in the mountains and a group of guys just checked out. Poor bastard. The longer term rental. I hate them. Once they went past the $500 security deposit line, they stopped caring. 2 broken picture frames. The kids used my light bulbs as targets for their airsoft guns. The kids went through my attic and dumped every box upside down looking for dogs, money, PRN. The kids broke the lock into my storage room and took my toolkits outside into the woods, left the tools, opened a pack of roofing shingles to make a mat under the hammock from the storage room, used my plastic windows from the Jeep as a doormat for the broken storage room entrance, removed the metal doggy door and pounded it into a metal bowl to burn things from my storage room, removed the concrete stones from my walkway and made a path in the woods, left their fish hooks in the carpet, threw their trash behind my televisions, used my televisions as targets for their airsoft guns, ran the AC with the windows open, left the windows open with the AC running while they were out of town for the week, took family heirlooms locked in a storage room into the woods to use as targets for their BB guns, used my white towels and kitchen knives to clean their baseball cleats, did not take their trash to the street for removal but rather left it in the garbage cans outside the house with concrete blocks to keep raccoons out of the trash, took the toilet paper, detergent, and paper towels left for cleaning, brought a dog with fleas when they said no pets, broke a coffee table, broke an end table, broke a hammock, broke a bed frame and propped it up with books, cursed at my neighbors, left their PP extension device in the bathroom closet covered in poo, beside their container of horny goat weed spills. Edit. Forgot to mention they moved the fire pit from the concrete pad to the wooden porch and got pissed when I asked them not to have a fire on the wooden deck. I'm still finding random things hidden in the house, like firecrackers and coffee mugs. Drinking glasses were found in the woods where they were used for target practice. The house is back to shape, but my new Airbnb renters complain about my strict fee schedule.